After the vision of the birth of Jesus, Mary gives us a commentary. I promised you that he would come to bring you his peace. Do you remember the peace you enjoyed at Christmas, when you saw me with my child? Then it was your time of peace. Now it is your time of pain. But you know by now, it is by means of pain that we achieve peace and every grace for ourselves and our neighbours. Jesus man became Jesus God again after the tremendous suffering of his passion. He became peace once more, peace from heaven, from where he had come and from where he now pours out his peace for those who love him in the world. But in the hours of his passion, he, peace of the world, was deprived of that peace. He would not have suffered if he had had it, and he had to suffer, and to suffer excruciatingly to the very end. I, Mary, redeemed woman by means of my divine maternity. But that was only the beginning of woman's redemption. By refusing a human marriage in accordance with my vow of virginity, I had rejected all lustful satisfactions, deserving thus grace from God. But it was not yet sufficient, because Eve's sin was a four-branched tree: pride, avarice, gluttony, and lust. And all four were to be cut off before making the roots of the tree sterile. By deeply humiliating myself, I defeated pride. I abased myself before everybody. I'm not referring to my humility towards God. Such humility is due to the Most High by every creature. Even his word had it. It was necessary for me, a woman, to have it. But have you ever considered what humiliation I had to suffer from men without defending myself in any way? Even Joseph, who was a just man, had accused me in his heart. The others, who were not just, had committed a sin of disparagement with regard to my condition, and the rumour of their words had come like a bitter wave to break up against my humanity. And they were the first of the infinite humiliations I was to suffer in my life as mother of Jesus and of mankind. Humiliations of poverty, of a refugee, humiliations for reproaches of relatives and friends who, being unaware of the truth, judged me a weak woman with regard to my behaviour as a mother towards Jesus when he was a young man. Humiliations during the 3 years of his public life. Cruel humiliations in the hour of Calvary. Humiliation in having to admit that I could not afford to buy a place and the perfumes for the burial of my son. I overcame the avarice of the first parents, renouncing my creature before the time. A mother never renounces her creature unless she's forced to. Whether her heart is asked to renounce her creature by her country, or by the love of a spouse, or even by God himself, she will resent and struggle against the separation. It is natural. A son grows in our womb, and the tie that links him to us can never be completely broken. Even if the umbilical cord is cut, there is a nerve that always remains. It departs from the mother's heart and is grafted into the son's heart. It is a spiritual nerve, more lively and sensitive than a physical one. And a mother feels it, stretching even to exceedingly severe pangs if the love of God or of a creature or the needs of the country take her son away from her. And it breaks, tearing her heart if death snatches her son from her. And I renounced my son from the very moment I had him. I gave him to God. I gave him to you. I deprived myself of the fruit of my womb to make amends for Eve's theft of God's fruit. I defeated lust, which is gluttony carried to the extreme of greed, because every unrestrained vice leads to a bigger vice, and Eve's gluttony, which was already blameworthy, led her to lust. It was no longer enough for her to enjoy pleasure by herself. She wanted to take her crime to a refined intensity, and thus she became acquainted with lust and was a mistress of lust for her companion. I reversed the turns, and instead of descending, I have always ascended. Instead of causing other people to descend, I have always attracted them towards heaven. Of my honest companion, I made an angel. Now that I possessed God and his infinite wealth with him, I hastened to divest myself of it, saying, "Here I am. May your will be done for him and by him." He is chaste, who chastises not only his flesh, but also his affections and his thoughts. I had to be the chaste one in order to annul the one who had been unchaste in her flesh, her heart, and her mind. And I never abandoned my reservedness, not even by saying of my son, "He is mine, I want him," since he belonged only to me on earth, as he belonged only to God in heaven. And yet, all this was not sufficient to achieve for woman the peace lost by Eve. I obtained that for you at the foot of the cross, when I saw him dying, whom you saw being born. When I felt my bowels being torn apart by the cry of my dying creature, I became void of all femininity. I was no longer flesh, but an angel. Mary, the virgin spouse of the Spirit, died at that moment. The Mother of Grace remained, who gave you the grace she generated from her torture. The female reconsecrated woman by me on Christmas night achieved at the foot of the cross the means to become a creature of heaven. This I did for you, depriving myself of all satisfactions, even of holy ones. And whereas you had been reduced by Eve to females not superior to the mates of animals, I made of you, if you only wish so, saints of God. I ascended for you. As I had done for Joseph, I lifted you higher up. The rock of Calvary is my Mount of Olives. From there, I took my leap to carry to heaven the re-sanctified soul of woman, together with my flesh, now glorified, because it had borne the word of God, and had destroyed in me the very last trace of Eve. It had destroyed the last root of that tree with 4 poisonous branches, a root stuck in the sensuality that had dragged mankind to fall, and that will go on biting at your intestines until the end of time, and to the last woman. From there, where I now shine in the ray of love, I call you and I show you the medicine to control yourselves, the grace of my Lord and the blood of my Son. And you, my voice, Maria Valtorta, rest your soul in the light of this dawn of Jesus to gain strength for the future crucifixions which will not be spared you, because we want you here, and one comes here through pain. Because we want you here, and the higher one comes, the more one has suffered to obtain grace for the world. Go in peace. I am with you.